everybody, and welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alec Berna. That's Matt Morrison. It's the Friday edition, so you know we're bringing it back local here to the Valley, and we're talking high school football. Matt should have a pretty good Friday slate in tune for us today. As you can see along this bottom, we got all the games going on tonight on the ticker below us. So, yeah, if you're looking for games, here they all are. These are all the ones that at the moment we have a broadcaster assigned to, I believe. So there might be a couple more that are going on that aren't on that list because there's nobody at least covering it at the moment. So that's what that going on below us here. But Matt, you and I, we got a big game tonight. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all of the local games, and we'll start right at the top. Ashtabula St. John. We've seen a couple times here already on the network. They've taken on a couple of the Valley teams. Tonight, they go up against our Sebring Trojans. Just saw Sebring volleyball the other night. They had a hard-fought game against Liberty. Ended up losing it, but pardon me, not against Liberty. They were up against Campbell. Hard-fought. They still lost, but their football team, they've been better than bad, I think, so far this season. They're not great. They're 0-2 right now. Just 22 points for 100 points against them. They go up against St. John Ashtabula, though, who comes in also 0-2, and they haven't scored a single point all season. So, yeah, you're looking at two winless teams that have gotten off to terrible starts. But my only thing is, while McKinley hasn't shown any defense yet, St. John's hasn't scored a point. So I got Sebring in this one. I'm looking at the picks right now, and I am seeing a lot of Ashtabula St. John's, and I don't know why, because they haven't scored a point yet. People are betting on this team to win a football game, and they haven't even scored a touchdown or a field goal or a safety, nothing on the entirety of the season. So I got Sebring for our first game of the night to make that pick. I don't know what people are seeing out of St. John and going into this game.
I'll go Sebring too. From what you just said there, Sebring was definitely a program that needs some rebuilding, just needs some time. They've been back in the day, they were a team to look out for in all sports. I think they're mostly known for basketball, but they were good at football too. So hopefully we can see them maybe bounce back a little bit.
And this is a Division 6 St. John taking on Division 7 Sebring McKinley Trojans. By the way, in the state rankings, St. John's at 7-13, McKinley's at 7-16. This might be our closest matchup of the week. So keep that in mind as it goes into it. A lot of people like St. John, but I'll take the Trojans. Second game, Campbell Memorial taking on East Palestine in East Palestine. Matt, we've already gotten the chance to see this Campbell squad, and from what we have seen from them, I think they're going to be pretty good in this matchup. I definitely would have them as the favorite for it. They definitely have question marks. Only 21 points scored on the season. Their defense has given up nearly 100 in 2 games. East Palestine offense, same. 21 points in their defense. A little bit better so far. Maybe not same level of competition as, look at the schedule for Campbell so far. Valley Christian and Lowellville. So two of the best offenses, two top offenses.
And we were there at the Valley Christian game, and they played tough for that first half.
That first half was so close.
No way, man. So what?
You go back to that game, Matt. It was 14-0 at half. 26 points in the third quarter blew out the game.
It should have been 8-0, but there was that late touchdown. So
there was that late touchdown that came off of, I'll say it, bad decision-making, I think, on the part of Campbell. Going forward on the 50-yard line with 50 seconds left, punt the ball, put your opponent deep, take a one-score game into halftime. They got a little too aggressive, and it bit them, and then that ultimately turned it over and gave Valley Christian all the momentum, and they ran away with it. Second game out, they went against Lowellville at home again, and Lowellville, they're one of those teams I think you look at this season with their offensive firepower and how great their defense has played to go along with it. They're a potential, at least regional team this year, and I think perhaps deeper for that squad. They have so much talent. Campbell didn't stand a chance against an offense of that magnitude. So you come in here against East Palestine. Matt, from what we've seen out of this Campbell squad, I think I might have a little bit more faith in them to win this game than I do from East Palestine. But if East Palestine's going to break that losing streak, man, this is as good a chance as ever that they're going to have this season to do it.
Yeah,
they actually got a couple games up that they can do it with. Memorial here, Latonia, Wellsville. But then obviously they're going to be going up against Lisbon, United, Southern, Valley Christian, and Columbiana down the stretch as well. So they got to find a win here in the early part of the season to break that streak. They don't want another 0-10 year in Bulldog country.
No, I definitely agree there. I do believe that they can break the streak here tonight. Bulldogs have always, they've been that program that needs to kind of jump back into things. I think they can do that here tonight against Campbell, who's still trying to figure out things. Like, they look good against those tough opponents. I know Valley beat them 47-7, but they still showed fight in that game, at least for that first half, and that they just couldn't keep up with that mentality that Valley Christian brings. And same thing with Louisville. So now they get an opponent who's pretty much at their same level, and they can go full go without worrying about having to run out of gas, as you can say, because that's what happened against Valley. They couldn't keep up.
No, they couldn't. And same thing happened with Louisville. They just didn't have enough gas in the tank. But I'm going Campbell Memorial on that one, Matt. You going Campbell as well? Or are you taking the Bulldogs to break the streak?
I'll go Campbell.
All right, next game out here. Austin Town Fitch, in my opinion, the best team in the region, maybe the state of Ohio, after what we've seen. They're ranked 8th now in Division II, number 1 in the city of Youngstown via Max Preps. I believe they're number 2 on our power rankings. 23rd in the state of Ohio is where they sit there as well, with Canfield just behind them at 24 in the state. They're coming up. That could be a fun matchup if they ever face off against one another. I don't think they're in the same division, so maybe that won't happen. But oh well. They're taking on Canton Glen Oak tonight. Glen Oak, so far in the season, man, they have had it hard. They were on the road against Shaker Heights. They came out with the win 51-24. Then they had to defend home field against the greatest dynasty in the state of Ohio in Massillon, Washington, a team with 24 state titles dating back, I think, to 1940-something.
Something like that.
Needless to say, Massillon, Washington is a powerhouse. They dropped that game 35-0. I think the entire state of Ohio hopes maybe Massillon, Washington isn't back quite yet, because I don't think anybody needs another 24 years of their dominance. But you could see eventually down the line these Austin Town Fitch could go up against that Massillon, Washington in the playoffs. I think they would meet perhaps in regionals. We'll see how that could potentially break down. But Glen Oak, I don't think they stand a chance here, man. Austin Town Fitch is the team to beat right now in high school football, at least in the Valley here, this region. I don't think anybody's touching them, at least not this early in the season. They are playing too good of football right now, so give me Fitch.
Yeah, I'm going to go Fitch here too, but, Glen Oak, they've had some good teams in the past. The Shaker Heights game was a big game, and, I agree with you there. Massillon is just a dynasty, and, it's very hard to beat a team like that. But, they kind of had a bad season last year. I think they went 3-7 last year. But I remember them as a competitive team at once. And, that Shaker Heights win, I look at it as pretty good. So, but I'm still going to go Fitch here. Fitch is playing on a different level. So
100%. Next game up, Matt. Chaney taking on Cardinal Mooney. I would love to see the Cardinals pull this upset. This would absolutely shake some things up. Obviously, I've called a lot of Mooney sports over the last year, so I got a little bit of momentum on that side for me. I got some family that goes down there, so this is going to be a big game, I think, and a real chance for Cardinal Mooney as well. I know we've had a lot of hype towards the Cowboys here early in the season. They obviously beat Boardman a lot better than Cardinal Mooney did, so immediately off the board, you got to be looking, that team's going to be coming in a lot better, a lot hotter. They should be, the better team. They're ranked 97th in the state of Ohio. Cardinal Mooney's ranked 301st in Division III. Chaney's ranked number 14. Cardinal Mooney's ranked 40th in Division V. It's a real uphill battle for this Mooney squad. But like I've said the last couple of weeks, I've been hearing that they're building stuff, and coming off the big win over Mentor's Lake Catholic, that was a great day for Cardinal Mooney fans, because that was a win I think they desperately needed. I know Lake Catholic's not that great. They've lost both games they played on the season. They might beat Bookville this week. Who knows? But still, I think that was an important momentum game for Mooney after just dropping that game to Boardman. Keep in mind, this is a Mooney team right now that if it wasn't for a late game field goal, perhaps they could be undefeated on the season, and that would bring up this matchup against Chaney. So I think you come into this, and I think despite the records, despite the uphill battle, I think Mooney has a chance to take this game.
Yes, I believe so too, and I might get to see them later in this season. I'm where I'm at currently is right down from. I'm in Mineral Ridge right now. Mooney plays at Mineral Ridge, so I might get to actually see them play a couple games and maybe call them as well. But Chaney's is different. Like I want to get back and call Chaney again. We had fun calling them last year, and their record.
We had fun when they lost last year. Can you imagine what that would be like when they're winning?
But now the record is going to show because they're one heck of a team. I'm going Cowboys here. I know they've looked better than they did last year, but they still have some work to do. Chaney's there. I know they are. I mean, way better than they were last year. They showed sparks of that last year, but they're full throttle this year. They're here.
Well, Matt, I said Mooney's got a chance. It's a slim one. I'm still taking Chaney. So
Mooney kind of reminds me of what Chaney was last year. So maybe next year, as it's looking now, maybe next year Mooney will be the team to look out for.
I think Mooney fans, at least in this game, at a minimum, should be hoping for Mooney to keep it close. I think Mooney has a good enough team this year. I think they can at least hold Chaney a little bit quieter. They are in Cardinal Mooney, so they're playing down there in the Ridge. Yeah.
All right.
So,
all right.
I think with that side helping out for Mooney, being that I'll say home field advantage, even though it's not their home field, obviously, playing in Mineral Ridge, it's a little bit of a drive as well. But I think they can at least keep it close. It's not a very great place for them to call home. Ursuline gets Stambaugh Stadium, and Cardinal Mooney has to drive, 20 minutes out the Ridge? So someone's got to help Mooney out.
No. Oh, they're Youngstown. It's about, from campus to here is about 12 minutes. So I don't know where they are. I don't know how further in the Youngstown they are. But,
it's about 6-7 minutes south of downtown.
Okay.
It used to take me 10 minutes to go from campus to Mooney to call their games. So that's why I was saying 20 minutes.
It'd probably be something like that. Yeah, okay. But
someone's got to help them out. They need some help over there to get a better stadium, at least one closer. Mineral Ridge, nice stadium, but they need one that's closer.
Yeah, nice turf. Yeah, but they need some help. Same with Valley.
I think Mooney can keep it close. But playing at John Napick is such a beautiful stadium. It's one of the best stadiums we have in Ohio.
They should just give it to them.
Well, if they keep winning the Battle of John Napick every year, might be. Next game up for us, though, Conneaut at Columbiana. We've seen Conneaut a lot here on the network against Edgewood week 1. Western Reserve last week, they're 1-1. Western Reserve dropped that game. Matt will see Western Reserve tonight. I've looked a little bit into them. They seem like a good team. They just weren't able to pull that out. And Conneaut, kind of like Penn State, sometimes it's better be lucky than good, as we saw last night.
We'll talk about that later, right?
We'll talk about that on Monday's show when we come back around next week. We'll recap college football. Get the whole time. To start out the week doing that next week.
Okay.
But
what about that big trade?
Oh, we'll talk about all that next week, man. It's a local day here on the network, unless we run out of stuff.
It's probably gonna be my highlight of the week, though. So
fair enough. But
all right.
As I'm saying here, Conneaut, man, they've cut it close, and they're 1 point away from being a 2-0 team. However, they're 3 points away from being an 0-2 team. So definitely a lot of question marks for them to address coming into this third game of the season. They're still on the road. 3 straight road games to open up the season for Conneaut. Columbiana comes in. They nearly had a win against McDonald last week. In week 1, they didn't have a shot. They were playing Lowellville. Like I said, that's one of the best teams I think we have in the region. And I hope they get some loves on the next power rankings because, man, they are cooking over there in Lowellville. But I think Columbiana's got a shot. They held McDonald pretty well. They dominated defensively. They just have struggled so far to get that offense ticking. And I think Conneaut is that kind of team. They thrive on those tight ball games and trying to make it up big in the clutch, and I think that's going to be the difference maker in this game. Columbiana, we haven't seen pull it out. We did see that from this Conneaut team, so I'm going to take the Spartans going into it. Yeah,
I'm going to go Spartans here as well. I mean, the Jackson Polar Bears, I like the name, but we are talking about Boardman, right? Are we talking about Boardman?
No, Matt. Why are you talking about Boardman?
I don't know. I heard Spartans.
Conneaut.
Oh, Conneaut Spartans. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll get to the Boardman Spartans.
Yeah, we'll talk about Boardman.
There's so many schools with the same names. Okay, I feel like there's hundreds of Warriors.
If only I had said Conneaut, I don't know, 10 times in the last 2 minutes?
I was looking at something else.
So who are you taking, Matt? Conneaut or Columbiana?
I'll go Conneaut.
Okay. Next one up, East Liverpool taking on Salem. The Potters looked good in game 1, came up short in game 2 of the season. They lost it 26-14 to Indian Creek. Now you go up against Salem, who so far beat a solid Crestview team. I think they've struggled here in the early going, obviously at 0-2. I think they're going to play a little bit better once they get into MVAC gray territory. But I think this Salem squad, man, with the defense they've shown out, I know they let up a lot of points to Beaver, and that probably wasn't a great thing, but Beaver's offense hasn't looked terrible. They've scoring about 23.5 points per game. I think Salem coming into this, you have to view them as a heavy favorite. The Potters, they lost that last game out against an Indian Creek team that I don't think would play well against Salem. I think this game most likely will fall down to matchups, and I don't know if East Liverpool has the matchups to take down this Quaker squad, so I'm going to take Salem.
Yeah, I mean, Salem a pretty great team. They've been a pretty good team for a couple of years. East Liverpool coming off a 3-5 season. Last time they played Salem last year, they lost 42-20. Give me the Quakers here. I did finally figure out something though. I know why they call them the Potters. So
You mean they're not just a bunch of Harry Potter fans?
No, they're that whole East Liverpool is like known for pottery, for making bowls and like kilns and stuff like that. So that's why they're called the Potters, because of that. I didn't know that. I'm like, why are they called the Potters? So I did some digging. So that's why they're called the Potters.
Well,
it's not Harry Potter. It's not about that.
I know that was a joke. I know it wasn't named after that.
I know. So that's kind of cool. I mean, I heard it was like the biggest pottery nation. It's like Pottery Nation. I guess.
Like Pottery Barn?
I guess. I don't know.
I think that's a store. I don't know. I'm not up to date on my pottery.
I don't do the thing. I've seen the movie Ghost, but I know where they're making the bowl, but I don't know.
How about we get back to football and we'll talk about pottery at the end of the show if we need to. If we need time to fill, we'll talk about pottery. I don't know, man. Our views are up when you were talking about pottery, so maybe this needs to turn into a clay making show. So next game, though, Springfield, the team I got to see last week against Brookfield, defending home field yet again this week as they got the Geneva Eagles coming to town. Geneva lost their first game to Madison, beat Struthers last time out. I think this is a real close game. I don't think we've seen the best out of Springfield so far in the season. And I think with that being said, I saw a lot of struggles in that offense last week. 7 points against South Range. Yes, they got 14 against Brookfield, but in my opinion, calling that game, feeling the momentum of it, being in there and being at that stadium, it felt like Brookfield let up. Colton Rourke, I think, is going to improve with every game that he plays, and I think you saw that at the end of in the second half of that game against Brookfield last week, that he was starting to feel the game and letting it come to him after taking over Bo Brungard's spot from last season. So I think the Springfield team, I talked to Sean Guerrero before that game, and he was saying we're a young team. We're making young team mistakes, but he's going to have this team ready to go by postseason. We're not there yet. I think he's got a hard road ahead of him, and he really does need a win here against Geneva because they have Lowellville and Mineral Ridge coming up next. The back half of their season, a little bit easier. They got McDonald, Waterloo, Western Reserve, McKinley, but they also got Jackson Milton in there. If this is a team that wants to get playoff ready, this is a win they need to get. Unfortunately, from what I've seen out of them, I don't know if they have it in them, man. I don't know if Rourke's gotten into his rhythm yet, and that's going to be the biggest thing. If Colton Rourke can find Shondale Garner down the field and Sean Guerrero down the field as well, he's going to have success. But last week, they still struggled to run the football. And they're not taking any pressure off their young quarterback. He was under duress a lot in that game against Brookfield. If Geneva saw the tapes from that and they're bringing the pressure, it's going to be a rough night for Colton Rourke, especially if they can't run the football. So with that being said, I'm taking Geneva in this game. I think the Cards still a little bit against Springfield. I said it. I thought they were rebuilding this year, and that's kind of the way things have gone.
Yeah, they're definitely a rebuilding year for them. I'm still going to go Springfield here. I think that they can pick up the first one here tonight. Geneva Eagles. I'm in the internet, man. But the Geneva Eagles, I mean, last year, what were they? 1-1 so far. I mean, the Madison one was pretty good. With 13-7 against Madison, they get their first win. Struthers completely annihilated them. But I think Springfield, yes, they are a shell of what they were. They lost a lot of people, but I think they get things done, and I think they come back and pick up their first win. Geneva last year was 3-7, so
yeah.
So
obviously, Springfield was
the year
pretty
before
good.
They were 8-2, so I don't know. But
yeah, last year was a rebuilding year for Geneva as well. So we'll see how that game goes. But I like that you're taking Springfield. What I saw last week, though, you weren't at that game. I don't know. They didn't leave me with a lot of hope on how that season's going to go. I hope they turn it around because that's a powerhouse that's much needed in the region after their last couple of years. Next game, though, a team that I've been really impressed with here in the early going, Girard. And they have what used to be a really good team coming in. It's Akron Ellet. So a team from more my region that has been pretty awful so far to start it out. Only 14 points for. They've let up 100 points against. And Girard, they've scored 90 points in 2 games, 24 points against. So I got Girard coming in this game. I think the Indians are going to roll the Orangemen.
Girard is on a mission to get back where they were last year, and not only get back there, but succeed and advance. So I'm going Girard too. They kicked the out of the team they were last year. This Girard team against last year would be like,
and that's not a shot at last year's team either, because that was a good Girard team.
That was a good team.
It seems that they've improved like 3 times
this year,
over.
They're like last year. They're like here. This year they're up. So
they took a huge leap, and they're impressive so
excited
far.
For them.
Next game up, Hubbard versus Howland. And I think you right away look, this should be an easy win for Hubbard, but then I think you start to look at them a little bit deeper. And obviously going up against Greenville, Pennsylvania last week was a hard one. They came out on top 8-3, a real awkward football score. And they beat Youngstown East in week 1, 28-8. But I think you look at this Hubbard team, and after sending a boy to Ohio State in this past offseason, and what was it, TJ Coffey? I know his last name was Coffey. I don't remember what his first name was, but
TJ. No, something like that.
Something like that.
TC.
TC, that's what it was. And it was T something. But after that, I think you expected a little bit of fall off, and I don't think we've seen it quite yet, but I do think that holes are going to start popping up as the season goes on. They haven't had a lot of passing success so far. No passing touchdowns. It's once again a ground and pound style football attack for this team. They got their leading rusher out here, and oh my God, let me click on his name. My computer's giving me a problem. Pardon me. In Ben Wilcox, who has rushed for 235 yards on 5.7 yards per carry, but he's only got 2 touchdowns. So only 5 touchdowns on the ground, and that's their total through 2 games to start the season. I think you go up against a team like Howland that really hasn't been great, but it's shown, I'll say, decent defense so far. I think this game's a lot closer than people are going to expect it to be. I think a lot of people would go, oh, this should be a 30-something to maybe 7 game. I don't think so. I think this is probably a 14-10 style game. I don't think this goes very deep. I think it's low scoring. However, with the power of Hubbard, they got a lot of big boys up there. Obviously, they've learned how to run the football with a lot of success, and they got a good offensive line. I think that wins them the game against Howland, but I don't think that they have a big lead. If there was a spread in this game, I'd put it probably 9.5 in favor of Hubbard.
I'm going to go Hubbard, too. I'm going like 13-7 Hubbard.
And next one up, Jefferson Football. And Matt, this squad really turned a corner this year. 86 points in 2 games, a lot of that coming against Grand Valley. Their defense has allowed 41, and I think that's a little worrisome as they continue to move throughout the season, especially with the likes of Girard, McKinley, Hubbard, South Range up on their schedule. It's going to be a tough test if that defense doesn't find a way to stop some offenses. And this is one of our first 2-0 matchups, one of our only 2-0 matchups of the week. And I don't think Edgewood really stands a chance in it because Jefferson has shown offensive firepower so far, something we haven't seen out of Edgewood. Edgewood might have the slightly better defense here. They've allowed 2 less touchdowns on the season, but I think when you compare the two teams, I think they should match up well. The defense should slow down that offensive attack from Jefferson, but I would still have Jefferson by at least 2 touchdowns in this football game. I think their offense has done really well, and I think they have that Maryland football effect. Great out of conference, and then they'll struggle a little bit once they get into the NE8 play.
Yeah, Jefferson, very, very talented team. We called them a couple years ago, I believe, but I like the way they've been playing. Give me Jefferson too here.
Next matchup up here, the Orange Lions taking on John Hay. Orange so far, the new YSN school, 0-2 on the season. They lost to Beechwood big. They lost to Mineral Ridge big. They're going up against Cleveland's John Hay, who's 1-1 on the season. Lost their first game to Scott out of Toledo, and then won their second game against Cleveland Central Catholic, 40-0. I think when you look at that right there, we know one of these two teams has an offense, and we know one doesn't. I think it's going to hurt Orange in this game. We've seen a lack of offensive production out of them so far, which is a little disappointing, I'm sure, for them as well. And John Hay comes in. You saw the big offensive performance in their second game. But I think maybe more importantly, they've only allowed 14 points through 2 games. When you look at Orange, and they've allowed 91. I think that's the big difference maker. Cleveland football is no joke. And I think John Hay is going to take this one. And I think they probably hang about 40 on him as well. That's what we've seen out of Orange so far. It's about how much they're letting up.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Don't mess with teams like that. I'm rolling with you.
Next game up here, LeBray, who has had a ruckus start to the season, man, going up against Jackson Milton High School this week. And I think Jackson Milton's got to like the situation that they've started out to this season. 2-0 wins over Leetonia in a tough Newton Falls squad. They've scored 70 points and have allowed just 14. Originally, these two schools were scheduled to play other teams. Some scheduling stuff got changed up. I think part of that has to do with potential teacher strikes in the region. So at least that's what I saw online as to why some of these games were getting canceled. But both teams have found new opponents, and these two found each other. LeBray 0-2 though, and that offense since the departure of John Armani, Matt, they are struggling to go anywhere. Got 7 points against Lakeview, 12 points against Valley Christian last week. Now they head back on the road after losing at home last week. Momentum absolutely shattered at the moment for this LeBray team. They need this as a pick-me-up game, but with how solid Jackson Milton has looked to start out the season, and how different LeBray looks. Maybe that's the best word. It's a different LeBray team. And we haven't seen one person for this Jackson Milton squad really be the end-all beast of a man that's going to lead this team to a playoff run. But Alex Schiavi is probably the best candidate. 9 touchdowns, no interceptions for him, 513 yards. He's putting up 200-plus yards per game. He doesn't have a ton of superstar talents, but they got a lot of guys that are just good enough out there, and they find holes. That's what they've done so far. Caden Mitchell leads their receiving unit, 11 receptions, but just 73 yards and a touchdown. They're a very wide open unit, and I think that's going to pay off tonight against the LeBray team that has some good players, but I think they're going to get spread too thin, and it's going to allow Jackson Milton to pour it on tonight.
Yeah, I mean, LeBray, I like LeBray as a team that, their coach leaving and stuff like that. I'm going to stick with LeBray here. Thinking beat Jackson Milton.
You think 0-2 LeBray is going to take down 2-0 Jackson Milton? All right. Well, we'll
I think
see.
so. I think they can turn it around. I mean, you lost your coach. That's a big thing that happens. I think, Jackson Milton, they've had a hot start. But this program in LeBray has been around. They've been great for years. And I think they'll get back to that. Smell the coffee, get back to playing what they're used to. Your coach is gone.
Matt,
get over it.
Well, Matt, at the moment on the YSN Pick'ems, the only one that agrees with you on that is Mike Ackelson. So we'll see how you two do.
All right, Mike. All right.
Right, got another Mike agreeing with you. Different day, same stuff, apparently. But our next game here, the Lakeview team that I just mentioned, they're 1-1 on the season, beat LeBray, lost to Garfield last week. Now they will head on the road to take on the Liberty Leopards, who are 0-2 so far to start the season. Things haven't gone great for them. They lost to Girard, got shut out in the Battle of Belmont, struggled against Western Reserve in week 1. Offense hasn't turned the corner. Defense not looking great yet for Liberty. I think I'm a little surprised by it, especially after the year we saw from them last year, and obviously having the big production out of DC Farrell, who garnished the attention of Ursuline and got sent over there. But I guess not sent, transferred over there. I think Liberty took a step down in football this season, which is a shame. I think Lakeview probably takes this game. From what we've seen so far, I'd say probably safe bet on 2 to 3 touchdowns at a minimum that Lakeview is going to take this by tonight. I'd really like to see Liberty keep it close and potentially win it. I just don't know if they have it in them.
Yeah, Liberty, I was talking to the man who calls Liberty yesterday. He had a couple of things to say. Liberty just starting off a little bit slow, so I'll go the other way for this game.
Okay. Our next game on the schedule, Louisville. 0-2 to start the season. Offensive struggles here as well. They've gone up against Steubenville and Poland Seminary, put up just 10 points in those 2 games, have allowed 42 on the other side of it. Now they go up out of a team out of Canal, Fulton, the Northwest Indians, who are 2-0 to start the season. They beat Norton. They beat Marlington. I know the Norton team a little bit more than Marlington. Saw them a few times when I was back in high school.
Marlington.
Yeah, I know you do. Norton has all right programs, but I think this Northwest Indian squad, man, they're coming in hot. Louisville, like I said, offensive struggles. I think it hurts them in this game. I think Northwest has just too much to go into it.
Yeah, I agree there. Northwest, man.
All right, next one up here. The Boardman Spartans, Matt, here you go, taking on the Massillon Jackson Polar Bears. And
the Polar Bears.
Coming in here, Massillon Jackson, they beat East in their first game 33-27, lost to Mayfield 48-10 in their second game. Cardinal, this Boardman squad beat Cardinal Mooney, lost to Chaney. Not a lot of great offense for them so far. They've kept it low score, and their defense fell apart against Chaney. They're going to need better defense here against Massillon Jackson. A lot of big boys over there in Massillon Jackson. They're not the biggest of the Massillon schools, but size-wise, they're really good. They have a lot of talented basketball teams. Part of the reason why I hate the Purple Polar Bears, they knocked my team out. I think it was in the Elite Eight 5 or 6 years ago, I think it was. Knocked my basketball team out of the Elite Eight, so I've held a vengeance ever since. It was also a 1-point game, and refs were on their side, so... Yeah. So I felt a little bit of grudge. So I'm taking the Spartans all the way. I want Boardman to absolutely have the best offensive game of the season for them. I want them to take this 80-0. Is that realistic? No. I'm still taking Boardman. I think more realistically, 21-17 for Boardman.
I'm going to go Boardman here, too. I think they can take kind of a tough team like Jackson. They're from Massillon. I know they're not one of the best Massillon teams, but, I mean, they're still from Massillon, so they probably get all the rejects that Massillon turns down. Like the Massillon
you got Massillon Washington, Massillon Jackson, Massillon Perry, Massillon.
So, I'm sure.
There's like 4 of them, so.
Yeah.
And this is probably 4th out of those 4, so. There's a lot of teams in that region. It's a big area.
Yeah, it is. I'll go Boardman here.
All right, Matt, now we're talking about, I believe this is your rival, is it not, the Matthews Mustangs?
Matthew, yeah, the Mustangs, just can't stand them. But
well, they've been really good so far, and a lot of people can't stand going against them. 102 points they put up in just 2 games, and their defense has been looking phenomenal as well. And they go up against Letonia that has allowed 97 points on the season, scored just 13. The unfortunate part of this matchup, Matt, is that Letonia is going to get absolutely steamrolled. It is not going to be a pretty game to watch. This Matthews team is off to a tear to start out the season. Yeah, they're hard-nosed, and, man, those farm boys out there, you're one of them. They know how to play football.
We all come from the same area. Matthews, Maplewood, and Badger. You could throw PV in there, too. We're all connected with, what's that road? 193, I believe. So there's farms everywhere in that area, which means work.
Yeah, a lot of tough boys, but Matt, I got Matthews taking it this week.
I'm going Matthews too. Yeah,
taking your rival. I will have everybody know that later on in the show, my high school's rival is taking on one of our teams here in the Valley as well. So, spoiler alert, I'm not picking them. But next game up, Canfield taking on Poland. It's in Canfield. Ooh. I don't have to go into this one much. I think Canfield's going to roll over Poland.
It's a huge rivalry, though.
It is a huge rivalry, though. But, Matt, I don't see
history about this, like fights and stuff that happen. Like, I'd love to be on this call. But Canfield, very powerful.
Hello? Okay, we're going to drop him out for a second while he reloads, but Poland comes in here 1-1 on the season. They lost to Chaney in their opener, only got the safety in it, which definitely an odd one for them, and they won their last time out against Louisville last week, a team that, we've mentioned their offense hasn't been ticking. I think Canfield comes into this one. They have looked really good, obviously number 1 in our power rankings. They've taken on some tough opponents in Bellevue and West Branch, came away with wins, both of those on the road. Now they get their home opener here in week 3 before 2 more road games. That's going to be an absolutely electric environment for this rivalry. Canfield is going to have all the momentum. Trying to bring Matt back in. He's still frozen, and he's gonna drop out and reload him. So we'll just cover this one more second as he tries to get back in. He's got some internet problems over there in Mineral Ridge. Okay, I don't know when he'll join. So we'll just move on to the next game. He'll give his pick on the Canfield game. We got a lot of games to go still. So South Range, the Raiders coming in to take on Canton Central Catholic. I believe the boss, DJ Oakley, going to be on the call for that. This should be a pretty big one. Canton Central, they lost to Massillon Perry, one of those Massillon teams again. Matt and I got a chance to see them last year, but Canton Central lost their first game there. Beat a team, also one we've seen in Norwayne, who plays out west in Medina. They're an hour and 20 minutes from the region, and it was a close one that last time out. Canton Central, they can score the ball. Their biggest problem has been defense. And you go up against a South Range team that has both great offense and great defense. It's going to be a tough uphill battle for Canton Central to find a way to make this game competitive. I got South Range taking it away. And Matt still not back in the show. That's all right. We'll continue to push along here. Next game up here, Struthers taking on Streetsboro. Streetsboro team that we've already seen here on the network early on. They got upset early in the year. Not many people were expecting it to happen, but Girard came in and ran all over them, 42-24, took them out to the woodshed and left them there to rot. And they were able to bounce back the week after. So I think you got still a pretty enlightened Streetsboro group. They're going to come in here against the Struthers team, who had a good win week 1. A bad loss, I'll say, in week 2. It wasn't bad. The game got away from them. But I think Streetsboro, I think they're going to want some revenge on the region before they go in and start conference play next week. I would like to see Struthers bounce back and get a win over that Streetsboro squad, but I think that's going to be a real hard task. I got Streetsboro winning the game. Next one up, Lisbon taking on Toronto. This should be a really good matchup. I think maybe a little bit of an underrated one. I love these EOAC teams, man, and David Anderson, Lisbon, has been a good one so far. Rolled over Windham, went over Harding out of Fairport Harbor. Now they got a very good Toronto Red Knights team that we saw run over Wellsville and East Palestine. My only problem, you look at strength of schedule, neither one of these teams are really in a great standing with that. David Anderson's ranked at negative 55.4 for strength of schedule, and Toronto's ranked at negative 58.5. So neither one of these teams have had good talent to go up against, and I think that kind of hurts them both as they continue on in the season. And I'm looking right now at the YSN pick'ems. A lot of people want Toronto, but I love this EOAC. I think it's one of the hardest conferences around. They've pulled off some huge upsets already against some bigger teams out of the MVAC and a couple other conferences, I believe. So I'm taking Lisbon. I want to see it happen, and that's my pick. Matt Morrison still unable to rejoin the podcast as of yet. Could be having a power outage. I think we've been having a lot of those in the region recently. Hope none tonight. But United, another EOAC team, taking on another MVAC team in Crestview. Crestview's gotten off to a rough start, man. Only 14 points for, 29 points against. The defense hasn't been a problem for them. They just haven't found that offensive production yet on the season. It's hurt them to this point. They have a loss against Salem. They have a loss against another EOAC team in the Southern Indians. And now they go up against United. Crestview does have the advantage of this being at home, but they lost it last week at home. I think a lot of people would look at them and go, all right, if they're going to find a win here early in the season, this has to be one of their best chances. They do have Memorial and Liberty coming up next, so they could find some wins in there. But I think United's going to take this one. Their offense has looked really good, 83 points in 2 games, just 28 points against them so far. The defense obviously could be better, but I think overall as a unit, United is just the better football team. So I'm taking United over Crestview. We'll bring Matt back in here to get us started in the next game. As the next game, Valley Christian versus McDonald. Yes. And
what
Matt,
games did I miss?
A bunch. Just make your pick here. Poland at Canfield.
Oh, I'm going Canfield.
All right. South Range at Canton Central Catholic.
I'll go South Range. Streetsboro
hosting Struthers.
Struthers.
Ooh, all right. Toronto at Lisbon.
Lisbon. I'll go Lisbon.
That's the direction I went. Not a lot of people took Lisbon. And then United at Crestview.
I'll go United. United's a tough team. Good, we didn't miss the Ursuline game because I want to talk about that game.
Well, we only got 17 minutes left. Still a decent few games to go through, so we might have to run over a couple. Valley Christian at McDonald. Matt, I think this is maybe one we can roll over. This is going to be Valley Christian by a landslide. After what we saw out of them last week against LeBray, I think this is going to be a huge Valley Christian win. McDonald's a tough team. They have a strong defense, but they don't have an offense. I think we kind of saw that last year and this year. They struggled to put more than 1 or 2 drives together a game, and that hurts them. I got Valley Christian.
I'm going Valley.
Next one up here, Villa Angela St. Joseph taking on Youngstown East. I'll make this pick quick. I'm taking St. Joseph coming in here. Youngstown East, I've liked them a little bit better. I think they've had a decent they've had a decent defense so far in the season. But I think you're coming in against a 1-1 St. Joseph football squad that has taken on a Cleveland's John F. Kennedy, Hamilton's Baden, and they've looked all right in those games. I know one they lost 33-3, but then they came out the next week and won 50-0 on the road. They're in the road again here, just right up the street from me at Rayen Field. But I think Youngstown East is going to get sent back home with a loss tonight. I got St. Joseph.
I'll go St. Joseph's too. Very tough type of team. East is been on the downfall here and there, so they need to pick themselves back up. It's not going to be tonight.
Next game, Warren JFK at Garfield, and this should be a great game, and I have no idea which way this one is going to go. I think you can look at either one of these squad and make the case for them. I think you have 2 really good football teams. I wasn't expecting Garfield to be this good either coming into the season, and they've kind of shocked me. I think after last week, though, I'm a little concerned maybe their offense isn't going to put up the same amount of points we know Garfield can, and JFK can. There's 3 straight away games for JFK. They didn't make it easy on themselves, and we know they've been able to perform on the road in Champion, at Delta, and now they go into Garfield. I saw Garfield's volleyball team last night, and those families seemed pretty amped up. They're going to bring the noise. They brought the noise in a volleyball game. I think it's going to be 15 times louder out there at the football stadium. It should be a great game, but I got Warren JFK ultimately taken out. I think they got too much firepower for Garfield.
Yeah, I'm going to go Warren JFK too. Garfield lost their main guy in Dema last year, so they're still trying to work out some stuff. JFK is just a perennial powerhouse, period.
Next game up here, and here's the game that I didn't even have to look at teams to make my pick because it's West Branch taking on my rivals from high school in Revere, the Minutemen. And that's about as long as they're going to be in a contest against West Branch. West Branch, they might have lost to Canfield, but that was a tough fought game. I think you can look at it as a near undefeated team in West Branch, despite the fact they're 1-1. Revere is a team that I don't like, never have, never will. Home of the Nance family. What's that, Matt?
The bias is shown.
Oh, bias is way out here. Revere. I live like 5 minutes from Revere. I've been to the high school a ton of times. Can't stand them. Don't like them. I know people that are from. As soon as I find out people are from Revere, I just kind of go, ugh. No, I don't like it. 3-7 last year for this team. They lost to my team last year, 21-20. Mine's Copley, and they had a home game to do it. This game is going to be in Revere this year versus West Branch tonight. And I think West Branch is going to send those Minutemen packing rapidly.
I'll go West Branch here too.
West Branch by 1,000 miles.
I'll go West Branch here too.
That's
kick me off if I picked Revere.
Yes, you would get kicked off the show if you picked Revere. Lyndon McKinley taking on Beaver Local. I got Columbus's Lyndon McKinley taking this game. I don't really have a ton of reasonings for it. They've only played one game so far.
Who is it?
Columbus Lyndon McKinley, and they're taking on Beaver Local.
Oh, I mean they're from Columbus, so yeah, give me them.
Yeah. Well, this wasn't the game Beaver was supposed to have, but they've had defensive struggles. Their offense has been fine, but defensive struggles the first 2 weeks. We've only gotten to see Lyndon McKinley play once, and they won it 45-0 against Columbus West. So I'm taking Columbus Lyndon McKinley in this game.
I'm going.
Next one, Mineral Ridge at Newton Falls. A lot of people like the way that this Ridge team is rolling so far this season, Matt. I'm one of them. I think they've gotten off to a great start. They're 2-0. But my only concern is strength of schedule. Look at who they've beaten. Pine Tuning Valley, who's not looking great so far, and Orange, a team that has allowed almost 100 points in 2 games. And then you look on the other side here with this Newton Falls, ran over St. John Ashtabula, a team that we talked about earlier. They're not great. And they lost by 2 points to a 2-0 Jackson Milton squad. This is a game that favors Mineral Ridge on paper, but I think when you really break down these teams and you look at them, I think Newton Falls looks like the better team. Speaking that strength of schedule, it only favors Newton Falls by about that much. Mineral Ridge, negative 56.2. Newton Falls, negative 56.1. But I think you can kind of look at this and go, was Orange or PV really all that good this year? Would either one of those have been in a close game against Jackson Milton? I don't think so. That Jackson Milton's kind of the tiebreaker for me for this matchup. And with how close that was, I think Newton Falls can take down Mineral Ridge in this game.
That's very fair right there. I like Ridge. Excuse me. We're gonna see this Newton Falls team next week against Champion, I believe.
Yes.
So we'll see them up in front. I like this Newton Falls team. I'm still gonna go Ridge here. So the strength of schedule has been kind of up and up, right there. But it's the first 2 games. So I mean, look at Ursuline's strength of schedule. Wasn't very good. So I think this is where things get tougher and they're going to adjust to that. Give me the Rams.
I'll spoil this one. Only Richie Giuliano and myself took the Tigers to win that game. Next one up, though, Champion Football 0-2 going up against the Southeast Pirates at 1-1 out of Ravenna. So far, Southeast beat Brooklyn, lost to Mogador Field. Champion lost to JFK. They lost to Rootstown by just 3 points last week. It was a tough, hard-fought game, and now Champion goes on the road for the first time against a Southeast team that gets to play at home for their second straight week. I think this should be a tough one, but ultimately I'm taking the Ravenna Pirates.
I'll go Pirates too.
Next game here, rapid fire these last few so we can talk about our game to wrap out the show. Southern taking on East Canton. I'm taking Southern in this game. I like those Southern Indians.
Southern.
The EOAC is great right now.
I'll go Southern.
Niles on the road against Independence. I'm taking Niles. Waterloo on the road taking on Malvern. I'm taking Malvern, and so are a lot of people. And then the final game, Lowellville taking on Greenwich South Central. I'm taking Lowellville all the way. Vinny Ballone's taking this team deep this season, baby.
What about the Ursuline game? Talk about that.
That's
Ursuline taking on Farrell.
Yeah, it's not on the YSN Pick'ems, apparently.
It's right here, I think. Yeah, I see it right here. It's going to be on the network.
Well, if it's on the network, go ahead. Throw it up there.
Oh,
Ursuline taking on Farrell. Ursuline 2-0 to start out. Farrell just 1-0. They start a week later than we do, so they've had a little bit more time to go into it.
Yep.
Matt, these are two really good teams going up against one another. It's practically a coin flip on who you're going to see win this.
One of the best teams in PA and probably one of the best in Ohio. This is going to be a fight. I'm going to go Farrell here. Right down the street from where I work, they won back-to-back state championships, I believe, in 18 and 19. They had another long run last year at 11-1. Their coach comes into the store I work all the time, or at least their former coach. This Farrell team is something else. So was Ursuline. I mean, they were just in the state championship last year. I can't wait to hear about this. I wish I was going to watch. But they're in Farrell, and I think that's a very, very tough place to win. Give me the Steelers. I'm the Farrell Steelers here taking down the Irish.
Well, I think coming into this one, Ursuline, they might have had an easy road so far, but they got a lot of credit for beating both Brookfield and the way they did it and Padua Franciscan. So I think coming in here, they're ranked 42nd in the state of Ohio in total. Farrell's ranked 43rd in the state of Pennsylvania. Farrell, though, their strength of schedule is at negative 31.8. They won last week and still dropped in the Pennsylvania rankings. So I think you have to take that 50-30 win with a grain of salt. I know this is a perennial powerhouse. This is going to be a tough game. But I think out of what we've seen out of Ursuline so far, I think they have what it takes to beat this Farrell squad that was an 11-1 last year, scored 582 points on offense, only allowed 101. And you see it. They went up against a bad opponent here in week one and allowed more points in that game than they did in any game last year, including the one they lost in the playoffs, deep in the playoffs. This Farrell team is not the same Farrell team that went 11-1 and made the deep run last year. This Ursuline team, on the other hand, might be better than the team that blew a huge lead in the state championship game. The way they've looked so far, this is their big test, and the road's not getting easy for Ursuline, man. Farrell this week, Fitch next week. They got Chaney a couple weeks after that, then St. Vincent, St. Mary after that. So it's a rough road, but this Ursuline team, they are preparing themselves for war, and I think they take it into Pennsylvania and bring back a dub.
We will see.
Oh, I mean, I've lived in Youngstown. I have never lived in Farrell, so.
Neither have I. But.
Yeah. Well, you're close enough. Our game map tonight, though, Brookfield at Western Reserve. Didn't leave us a lot of time to talk about it. That's all right. We'll get plenty of time to talk on the broadcast tonight. But this should be a fun one, I think. John Armini going back up against this Brookfield team, a team that he's caused a lot of problems over the last couple of years. Ever since, I think it was really our first year calling it, that Brookfield beat LeBray in the regular season. Then LeBray came back and beat them in the postseason. Year after that, which was last year, LeBray beat them twice.
54-52 or something like that.
Yeah, it was really close games between them. Now John Armani with Western Reserve, a Western Reserve team I think that a lot of people have said they're looking better than the last couple of years. They got a strong quarterback, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's got to keep it clean again. Brookfield, I think they got to get both of the Jones boys involved. They need to get Jones involved and then get Davis involved as well in the receiving game. Christian Davis had a receiving touchdown last week, and it was a big one. It caught the defense off guard. I think they need to put that into their system more, add a wrinkle to get him the ball where he's already turned the corner on him. We know Donovan Pulowski's got the arm to send it. So I think this is going to be a fun game. Ultimately, Matt, though, I got Brookfield.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick because we're calling, but I mean that's pretty obvious.
Right, man. I wonder where you're from.
I worked there. I pretty much lived there. I mean that's
right,
where everything
pretty much.
is at. I'm from Kinsman. There's nothing in Kinsman. The nearest town that has something is Brookfield. So.
All right, Matt. Well, that does it here for all of the local games. We'll finish off this show now. Matt, we already know yours. Highlight of the week.
Oh, man. Give it. Cleveland Cavaliers, baby. Woo! We got the spider guy coming in.
Spadad Mitchell.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I was playing basketball yesterday, and somebody came running into the rec, and they're like, oh, my God. Guess what happened? I'm like, what? And they're like, Cleveland got him. I'm like, what? Cleveland got Mitchell? No way. I looked at my phone. It's already blown up. I'm like, oh, my gosh, who did we trade? I saw the Sexton trade. I saw him leaving. But losing Mark and then kind of hurt. And I kind of wanted to see what Ochai Agbaji would do. But,
right.
I mean,
a lot of people, including us, we all thought that was a steal in the draft where we got him.
Yeah.
Clearly,
I thought we
Utah
were
did
going
as
to be
well.
a competitive team, maybe a little bit better than we were last year, but adding Donovan Mitchell, I mean, we're something.
I mean, you look at the starting five with Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Isaac Okoro, Jarrett Allen, and then you go to the bench, and your sixth man is Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert's going to be coming back healthy, and if he stays healthy all year, you're talking about maybe one of the best six-man rotations in the NBA today.
And, oh, man. What was his name?
Rubio?
We traded him. Yeah, Rubio.
Ricky.
He'll be back. He played great before he got hurt last year, and now he's reunited with Mitchell. So, So he's got two former teammates. I mean,
Well, my highlight of the week, I got to go. The backyard brawl last night, Pitt in West Virginia, coming down to the final play. It doesn't get any better than that, man. That was absolutely amazing. I thought West Virginia was about to win it. They got that ball to 1. Then it gets called back and had to be heart-crushing. But I think this is a huge West Virginia win, despite the fact they lose. JT Daniels, the transfer in from Georgia, looked phenomenal, and I think he's going to reignite a fire that we haven't seen with West Virginia since the likes of Will Greer at the helm. I'm still not sold on Slovis with Pitt. I think they should have lost that game, and I think he was a reason because of it. I think they got good guys around him, but I'm not sold on Slovis. We'll talk more about that next week, but that's my highlight of the week. Matt, let's finish it out. Who is this week's Meathead of the Week?
There's a couple ones in there that I was thinking about. The Purdue guy, I mean, excellent interception off my team, Penn State, even though we did get the win, thank God. But he ended up puking on the sideline. I'm like, come on, man, you puke. But that was so awesome. I'm not going to give it to him. I just want to talk about
we'll give it out. You have a minute.
How about this one? You sent this in the chat yesterday. The most illegal kick ever. The guy took off and like 15 yards into a run, tried to punt it.
Thought he was playing rugby, apparently. Yeah. So it was the punter for
it right there.
Oh, geez, I think it was South Carolina State.
I got it right here.
Well, do it quick.
I got it. It's looks like UCF and NC State or South Carolina State.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a punter from South Carolina State who won the Holiday Bowl last year by their. I think the Holiday Bowl is what they call it. Won it last year. Yeah, decided to punt it after he crossed the line of scrimmage, which is illegal. Only legal in rugby. That's all the time we have for today. It's Power Hour Super Show coming up next, and a lot of high school football. Make sure you watch it. It was all there. Hope you paid attention. Bye.